What's going on here? They
That's
got new
not
features.
Our intro.
No, it's not. They got new features now. Here's our intro. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are very pleased to be part of the Variety Sports Network, and the show originates from the Frank Walker Law Studio. And you'll notice there are three of us, not four, because someone apparently has a tummy ache tonight. Scarps is not here. I thought he'd rally after Ben kind of shamed him in the chat, but no, not going to happen. And he didn't really give us a lot of time. So, I mean, Craig, if you're listening right now, shoot me a text and we'll put you on, buddy.
Why don't you just text him?
Yeah, I didn't want to catch him off guard because I don't want to. I don't know if he knows what we're talking about tonight. I didn't want to do that to him, but
cares.
We can talk about anything, anytime.
It's this is also true. This is very true. We just, it is what it is. Anyway, welcome everybody. Great to see we got some people in the chat already. Great to see you guys. I see Aaron and Burners in, and everybody else. Don't be shy, folks. Jump on in and join the conversation. Love to have you. Thanks for tuning in either way. Tonight, the plan is pretty straightforward. We're going to do a little roster talk on the defense. We did some last week strictly on the offense. And if you missed that, check it out. That's episode 406. Tonight's 407. So we got that. It'll take up a decent chunk of time. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about the article written by Steelers insider Jerry Dulac about the strife, if you will, between Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith, and a few other things along the way. But that is the plan. Gentlemen, hope you guys are well. I need to change the intro to 409 to the Beach Boys song.
Yeah, so we've got 2 weeks when we do episode number 409. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that song. Oh, geez, man. I read that and I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? And I realized I'm like, yeah, the song. It's been
Casey Kasem's not with us tonight, so we got to make the song references at the beginning of the show.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no Casey. I mean, who would replace Casey? Rick Dees? Is that the guy who would replace Casey once in a while? Oh, everybody, this is Rick Dees. I can't do his voice. Anyway, one thing I did want to get into before I get into the things that I mentioned, and Ben, you kind of alluded to this a little bit in our chat tonight, leading up to it. We are privileged in many ways to get some information, to talk to people that are close to the Steelers. That doesn't mean we are necessarily on the inside, anything like that. We just talk to people, and people talk to us. And so do we hear, are we here? Excuse me. Do we hear more than the average fan does? Yes, we do. We do. Are we in line to be the next Adam Schefter? No, we are not. But I think you were talking a little bit in the chat about just some of the things that come out, and fans really struggle to understand the fact that this is very much a planned thing. Like when it comes out that Wilson this or Wilson that, and this could be let out from any number of sources. So I'm going to let you kind of address that.
Okay. Overview first. I think that people need to understand that there's more information available in today than there ever has been in history previous to today. And we are dumber than we have ever been in our entire existence as human beings. True. because we can't sift through what's bullshit and what's real. And I'm not saying that I'm necessarily any better at it than our audience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I am saying I probably have a better chance to be better at it than they are, because I do talk to some people in the building that shoot me straight when I come to them with something dumb, and who also, shoot me straight when I'm wondering about what's going on. So, or they'll just say nothing. They'll just say, I just can't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, so that's the way it is being played, because it's one of those deals. All right, I get it.
Right.
In this particular instance, there is a segment of Steelers Twitter that thinks that the Pittsburgh media has no sources. They make everything up. Most of them are Pitt fans, because I'm just being honest. They are, because
You're right.
The Steelers media made fun of their precious Kenny Pickett and ran him out of town, and none of that could possibly be true. Guys, a lot of it was true. A whole lot of it was true, and some shit that never even got printed. Okay.
Yes.
And you'll find that is true in most of these instances, and that the truth falls somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
As for this current situation, was this leaked by Russell Wilson's camp? Probably, but it was confirmed by multiple sources within the Steelers organization that there was something going on there. Okay, so then there was a counter shot today. DEK came out and said, well, no, it's actually it was the other way around. Really, it was Russ that was having a hard time adjusting to Arthur Smith. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because the guy exploded with offense 1 week, and then after that was never really the same. So it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. And again, though, I think there probably is some nuance to all of this, and that there's some truth lying in the middle there that we're not seeing. There's a whole lot of gray area, if you will.
For sure.
But getting back to the point I was making in the chat is just that there are people that think that the sun shines out of the Steelers' ass, and if any story makes them look bad, well, that can't possibly be true. And so they wait a couple days for a report to come out that counters, and they go, see, I told you, see. Well, okay. The Steelers have PR people.
Yes.
Who, as Scarpino has admitted to on this show, lie.
Yes.
They lie. Okay.
Protect the narrative.
Protect the narrative. Protect the brand. All right.
No doubt.
And the stuff that came out today to Aditi was doubtless leaked by the Steelers, because they didn't look good in that story that came out from Dulac.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to counter it. It's punch, counter punch. But that's what it is. It's a joust.
Yeah.
And for you to blindly believe one side or the other without scrutinizing it makes you look like an idiot. If all you do is look for things to confirm what you already want to believe, you're never actually going to have an informed opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got to scrutinize all of it. Question what you think you know, because chances are you don't have some of those puzzle pieces. You got a lot of the picture, but not all of it. And the people that are saying things that you don't like probably have some validity to their point of view. And I'll leave it at that.
The interesting thing to me was who came out with the stories, right? Usually Dulac is kind of the mouthpiece of the team and has sources pretty high up the food chain in that building.
Yeah. Somebody whose name rhymes with Shart.
His last name isn't Smith. Yes. But for Dulac to come out with an article critical of the guy that's still going to be in the building next year, to me, when I read it, I was like, this sounds like an article you would publish either like right after you fire your offensive coordinator to justify it, or right before you fire your offensive coordinator to be like, look at this shit that was happening. Like, it was a complete black eye for the staff to be like, oh, they didn't let, the player had a lot of success and then they tried to handcuff him. But it does kind of line up too with, what Tomlin said and what kind of came out after the second Bengals game, where Tomlin was like, we didn't want to get away from our game plan of sticking to the run and keeping the ball out of Burrow's hands. And even what was kind of leaked after that was Mike Tomlin's game plan, and he didn't want to. It was. But nevertheless, and maybe it was, Tomlin that was like, hey, we're playing these good teams. We're playing, Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow for 4 weeks. We got to try and, keep them off the field, which is an understandable strategy. But when you can't run the ball,
when you suck at it, right, you got to come up with a contingency plan,
right?
At least, right?
Which might be throw the ball on first down every now and then.
Yeah,
not when you're down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, or not wait till you're down by 2 scores. You know what I mean?
The thing about Dulek's article that jumped out at me, and I just want to punctuate my comments with this one statement. Twice in that article, he mentions multiple team sources confirmed this to the Post-Gazette. That means it went across an editor's desk, and that editor made sure it was in there twice.
Yeah,
no, it's a good point. And just for those of you that don't know, Jerry is a longtime Post-Gazette writer, and I don't have any hesitation in saying that he is he's as inside as any insider can be in the Steelers organization. Let's just put it that way. So
doesn't mean mean he's always right. And I'll be honest, I don't think Jerry always tells the truth. I think that sometimes Jerry reports things that he knows to be false, but he has multiple people going on record saying it's true.
Sure.
And so he reports it because that is the narrative the team wants him to report, and he gets additional access because he is that mouthpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
for years before the draft, every year Dulac said, well, the Steelers want to get a big, tall wide receiver for Roethlisberger.
Right.
Because, Ben would say, yeah, I'd love to have a tall wide receiver. And then even the Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin would be like, yeah, we'd like to get a tall receiver for Ben. And that misinformation also distracts people from who they're actually focused on in the draft. But draft season is the time for lying anyways. There's a lot of smoke screens that happen.
Yeah, we really haven't even
flat out lying
yet.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think it was something worth mentioning because that came out, and then of course the little thing today, and Jay Glazer is as close to Tomlin as anybody, but again, Dulac is closer to Art, and so
Art and Dr. Bradley.
Well, that too, as Scarps has told us. So you do it's a puzzle. You have to connect the pieces sometimes, and you can't change the entire story to fit your wants, needs, narratives either. You just kind of have to take each story that comes, each tweet that comes, and try to piece it together. And it's not easy by any stretch. And sometimes you're left bewildered, wrong, and other times it's like, yeah, okay, I think I had that one right. That's just the nature of the business as it goes.
All that aside,
go ahead.
Yeah. All that aside, though, the actual content of the story.
Yes,
that's
where I wanted to go.
Arthur
next.
Smith. Okay, so I guess this is a segue then. That Arthur Smith basically shackled Russell Wilson and the offense, saying, "Nope, we just put up 40-some points. I know there was a pick six in there, but we just put up 40-some points against the Bengals. That's not our identity. We want to run the ball. We don't like this throwing the ball stuff." Is completely nonsensical and antithetical to winning or being a good coordinator. We talk on the show all the time about how the best
realize
coaches
our
and the best
audience doesn't use those big words, right? Antithetical. Come on, dude. Just dumb it down.
I'm still trying to. Is that on Urban Dictionary?
Yeah, you can look that up on Urban Dictionary if you want to. Antithetical.
You won't find it.
Yeah, I know. I won't find it there.
The opposite of what you want to have as a good coach. All right.
Yeah, I mean, what Ian is saying, and I agree with him, and then I'll let you finish your point. It's just that we want coaches that are more apt to coach players to their strengths rather than saying, yeah, you're a good player, but I want you to adapt to my scheme.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, that's 100% it. Is that you can't fit square pegs into round holes. I feel like a broken record because we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
That you
It's
want
hard to
coaches that maximize their players' skill sets and put their players in positions to maximize those skill sets. And earlier in the year, Russ was doing very well off of play action passes that they were using the run to set that stuff up. And even Justin Fields was doing all right with the play action stuff too. So I understand wanting to establish the run, but to be so locked into this is my identity, or even if it came from higher than Arthur Smith, if it was Mike Tomlin saying this is the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers, that we're a running football team. Like at some point, you either have to A, be good at the run, which they weren't, or B, be willing to be flexible and change what your quote unquote identity is, and be like, well, this is what we want to be, but this isn't the kind of players we have, so we're going to play to our players' strengths.
Right. You got to have a contingency plan in every situation, especially in a game like that, because it's so fluid. It's so fluid. You don't really know what they're going to do. You can plan for it based upon the other team's strengths and their tendencies, but you don't know for sure that that's what they're going to do in a given game. And if you don't have a contingency plan in place for when your game plan fails, fuck. Ben Roethlisberger talked about it this week. He said one of the strengths of our team when we were winning Super Bowls was the halftime adjustments we would make. And basically, they're not making them now.
Well, the place I was just going to go is, as stubborn as Bill Cowher was, and we've mentioned this, but it bears repeating, he eventually did have a contingency. He said, okay, I can't just run the ball all the time. I have to let this young man throw the football to open up the run sometimes. And you know what? It took him to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that's going to happen immediately in Pittsburgh by any stretch of the imagination, because the talent is quite different than it was then. But you have to be able to say, okay, we don't run the ball well right now. I have a pretty experienced quarterback in Russ Wilson. I think I can trust him to do some things here. And obviously they went away from that. Absolutely away from that those last 4 or 5 games, and obviously it cost them. I want to address Mr. Steeler fan is making some comments over here. Justin Fields, I don't know that you can make a comparison to Jalen Hurts just simply because he does not have the same type of talent around him that Hurts does.
No.
I think Fields can be a better player than he's been, but I don't know that he'll reach that level.
I don't think he's got what it takes between the ears, man.
I don't know that he does either. I think he's very much a read, go. Not much more than that.
And Hurts is smarter, and Hurts is stronger. Hurts is that short yardage carry. I mean, we've seen it 1,000 times, but they do that. The push play that everybody wants to be illegal, but Hurts squats 600 pounds. He's a quarterback, and he squats 600 pounds. He benches over 300 pounds. He's a quarterback. This dude is strong. He's big. He is smart. I don't think he's a great passer, but he's a good passer.
Yep. And as Mr. Steeler fan says also, I mean, yes, the offensive line should be different. Now, I'm not going to say it'll be better. It damn well better be better, but who the hell knows? And I'm not going to say I don't think the Bears are giving up DJ Moore. But to his point, the Steelers, I do believe, will be very active in once the offseason gets underway on March 12th. I think they'll be open to more things. That doesn't mean they'll do things, but I think they'll be more open to things once we get to that point. That would be my
find myself hoping that they don't burn any even like a 4th round pick on a trade. They have so many holes.
Yeah. I guess it depends who it would be for, but I agree with you on principle.
They need players they can develop. This team needs to get younger. Those drafts between 2018 through 2022, they were stinkers, man. They got a few players here and there, but by and large, they were shit drafts, and they're going to have to replenish the cupboard. I mean, I'm sorry, that roster's not good.
No, it's not.
I didn't like the effort they put in the playoff game. I thought it was bullshit, but pretty much through the end of the season, they actually worked at it. They worked hard, and he kept them together pretty much. I didn't think they matched the Bengals intensity in the Week 18 game either.
No, I don't either.
But so I don't know, a decent intensity, if you will, but the talent level needs to improve, and that means you get younger and you develop guys and you think long term, and that means you've got to keep as many draft picks as you possibly can. Now, don't get me wrong. If some team gives up on a player who's good and they want to give you either a pick swap or a 7th round pick for the guy, great, no problem. Pick swap, absolutely, all day long.
Yeah, and it only seems like every receiver in the NFL is from Ohio State, but
Garrett Wilson for Pickens in a 4th. You're on drugs, Aaron.
I would take that trade.
I would too, but anytime Ohio State's involved, Aaron is automatically on drugs.
I would take it, but they wouldn't accept it.
No.
I wouldn't accept it if I were them. I'd be like, yeah, fuck you.
And Chris Olave has had concussion problems, hasn't he?
He's had some injury issues the last few years.
He's a very talented young guy. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to not look at him, but man,
I think they'll sign a free agent and they'll draft one.
Just real quick, since we're talking some personnel and stuff, would you guys entertain any looks at Cooper Kupp at all?
What's for the right?
Go ahead.
Again, it would have to be through a trade,
right? And I think considering his salaries that he's due over the next couple years,
$20 million per each.
No, it's not that bad. Well,
it's 20.
It's not quite 20.
It's not salaries, but total comp is 20.
Total
$20
comp
million.
is 20. Right. Its base salary is 12.5 for this year. So, and his roster bonus is
7.5.
7.5. Right.
Which is 20.
Can I finish my? I feel like I'm talking to my children.
Can I finish?
Well, it's not 20, but it is 20. It's 20.
This is Ross Perot. Okay. Let him finish.
It's fucking 20.
It depends on how much the Rams might be willing to pick up in salary, which might mean you have to offer a little bit more. But at just base salary plus roster bonus, it's $20 million a year for the next 2 years. His roster bonus is due March 17th. So what?
15th.
Over the cap says 17th, but okay.
Oh, okay. St. Patrick's Day.
That's what it says. Plus the 17th is a Monday and the 15th is a Saturday. So here's a guy who can read a calendar. But nevertheless,
wrong year. I don't know. Anyway,
nevertheless, a smart team would wait out the Rams and see if they cut him or pick up his roster bonus, or are at least willing to pick something up. Now, if you trade for him, you're not necessarily locked into that contract. You could give him, a 2-year contract with a nice signing bonus to actually get the cap number down to something more reasonable, get his base salary a lot lower.
If he'll accept it.
Right, there's that. But the Rams did say they were going to kind of work with him to find a spot, considering all that he had done for them, Super Bowl MVP and all that in the past. So there's that makes it sound like there's a little more wiggle room for negotiations with his potential future team, that his potential future team might not just be locked into the same contract. They may try and find a landing spot for him, and then also, let him kind of talk with the team about what a new contract might look like. So
you would at least make the phone call.
I'd talk about it, see what.
That's where I'm at too. Well, I think veteran.
You always make the phone call. Always.
Yes.
No matter what the situation is, you make the phone call to find out what they're willing to accept. You have the conversation, and then you go, okay, well, that's fine.
But you guys agree that room needs an adult, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, and I look at, and I'm not saying that Kupp would necessarily be the adult, but my God, compared to what we would have
Today
in there,
he would be
the major adult, right?
But I mean, would Pickens even pay attention to him or give him any fucking respect at all? Doubtful. That's doubtful. Just my
take. I hate to use the term, but it's one I remember them talking about Babe Ruth when he was a child. They said he was incorrigible.
Incorrigible, yes.
Yeah. And I just start to think that's kind of the way Pickens is. It doesn't matter who you put in there.
Antithetical, and you guys throw out incorrigible.
Yeah, that's only because I know what incorrigible means.
It isn't just that. Everybody's seen that movie where Babe Ruth was called incorrigible and dropped off by his dad at the orphanage.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah,
and so everyone knows the word because of that reference. Mark used incorrigible, but he referenced Babe Ruth, so it brings it all together. Very nice and neat.
All right, next time I use an SAT word, I'll find a reference.
Today's literature. Yeah,
I think that well, one, I hope they don't. I definitely don't hope they trade a third or a fourth for any fucking wide receiver.
I agree.
I don't
just
care.
Draft one.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You guys are good at picking wide receivers, and they come out pro ready all the damn time now. Just draft a wide receiver, have a guy on a rookie contract that you can develop, and have him in your program long term. But my hope.
Yeah, and we'll get much deeper into the draft talk and obviously the free agency talk and whatnot. But just to kind of wrap it all up, the Dulac article, as Ian alluded to, the timing was extremely bizarre. It was very much an article that comes before or after a coordinator is fired, and clearly
I don't think the timing was intentional. I think it just had to do with the fact that Russ's camp didn't like the way that he was portrayed in a story about a week before, where it was, well, Arthur Smith actually had a preference for Justin Fields, and he didn't. They actually butted heads. They didn't really see eye to eye on things.
Well,
and Russ was like, Russ is probably the guy who was like, well, whatever, man. Nobody's going to believe that. But his PR people, his agents,
right,
probably were like, well, what was the skinny here? What was the deal? And then they got it. And once they got it, they released it to somebody.
But you'll recall, though, there were, and I don't remember what game specifically it was, but there was kind of a little pregame story about the Friday night sessions that Wilson and Smith would have. And,
they both smiled and laughed about it.
Yeah.
They both smiled and laughed about it. Like, yeah, we're doing that.
Right.
And, it seemed like it was a real cozy marriage until things started going sideways.
Yep. And I've always believed, and you alluded to this too, you both did, talking about how coordinators, that can adapt and do what the player does well rather than forcing the player to do what they want him to do. I think to me, that's the hallmark of a great coach and a great coordinator. And the fact that Smith and maybe Tomlin also didn't follow that game plan, so to speak, from the Cincinnati game, the first one, or at least have it in the back pocket, like we said, contingencies. But it's water under the bridge now because the season's long over.
I think they'll sign a wide receiver. They'll draft a wide receiver. They have to face the fact that the
nice beer
Van
down by the river, Jefferson,
the Van Morrison Jeffersons of the world are actually number 5, number 6 wide receivers.
Yeah.
That's a guy you want to keep a Ben Skoranek in that spot. And he's not a starter. He's a guy who gives you a spot play here and there. He'll bust his ass, get you a first down, and he plays special teams. And that's it.
Yep.
That's his role. He's a guy who busts his ass as hard as he can to stay on the team and barely makes it, but every once in a while he makes a big play, and you love that guy, right? And Jefferson,
he's
Scotty Miller.
He's done. Did you guys happen to catch, and I don't know why I didn't, realize this, but if they cut Larry Ogunjobi, they could save over $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think they'll cut Larry O, but I think he'll come to camp. I'm not certain he'll make the team.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at, Ben, is I don't know that they'll cut him either, but I think it has to be in the back of everybody's mind there when he comes in, because he really doesn't practice much anymore.
No, he practices like one day a week. My prediction with Cooper Kupp, back to that, is they're going to cut him. Like he's been the loyal soldier. And I'm kind of drawing a parallel here. He's been and
allow him to go where he wants to go.
Allow him to go where he wants to go. And I think they'll cut him before the end of the month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they're going to be looking for a trade partner, and everybody's been going, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. That isn't happening. I'm going to wait and see what you guys do. Go ahead and give him the $7.5 million and then try and trade him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're not going to do that? Okay. Well, yeah. We'll just wait for you to cut him, and then we'll offer him a contract.
Yeah.
And like I said, last week, I don't know what did I say on the show, or was it just something we talked about?
I think we were just chatting.
Yeah. If you got him down to $10-12 million a year, I'd take him for that. I don't think he's got a lot of gas in the tank, but when he's healthy, he's effective.
He's
he would
still
be
a pretty
that
good
guy.
route runner. Yep.
He would be that guy that could lead that group. That isn't to say that Pickens would listen to him.
Right. Yeah. And yeah.
And hopefully they're considering that. It didn't sound like it when Art spoke. It really didn't sound like he was willing to trade George.
No, and there's rumors circulating that Pickens is telling people that, hey, I'm here one more year and then I'm gone, kind of a thing. And I mean, players talk all the time, but it's definitely something I would probably listen to. Now, would they get
Elisa is mommy?
Now that
suck a fart out of my butt.
Oh, it must be Eagles fan. Is that Eagles fan again? Please identify yourself.
I don't know. I don't care. But
the fact that we get trolls on our little show is hilarious.
I know. You're trolling this program. Thank you. I don't even remember.
Whatever.
Yeah. I know what I was going to ask. If Pickens does leave after his final year, would we get a comp pick?
Yes.
Yeah. If he signs a bigger contract with depending on what the Steelers sign. And the problem the Steelers have had for the last several years is they drafted so poorly for that 5-year stretch.
Exactly.
They're signing more free agents than they let walk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so they're getting no comp picks when we used to get them every flipping year. Every year. And now it just doesn't work. Oh. Yeah. Elisa is gone.
Yeah, I mean
a single tear.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was gonna get any better there.
No, I mean, if you're gonna troll us, at least make it entertaining. Come on,
right? Be entertaining. That's all I ask. I mean that took a lot of effort to put that all together, though. That quick span of words and quick succession there.
Child.
Yeah, it's great. Ian, do we want to go to the defensive roster talk? Do you got the?
Yeah, I do.
All right, there it is.
Here's a guy who knows how to share his screen. Yeah.
So here's a guy who forgets.
Last week we went through the offense. So if you want to hear us talk about offense position by position for the offseason roster, go back and watch last week's show. So starting with the defense, I think to me, the biggest thing with this group, they're all under contract, but amongst the guys who play, Keanu Benton's the only one that's under 30. I mean, technically, I guess DeMarvin Leal and Logan Lee are under 30, but Leal's been a huge disappointment, and Lee was a 7th-round pick last year who wound up on IR for most of the year. So really, of the guys who play, Benton's your only guy under 30. So they need to restock this room quick.
Yeah.
And not only Larry O, who we talked about having that $3 million roster bonus due in in about a month in mid-March, but Cam Hayward, do we know for sure what he's going to do? If he's going to, necessarily come back, or is he going to retire? I mean, that's still kind of a question hanging out there for Cam too. And considering how much Tomlin was watching the defensive lineman at the Senior Bowl, makes you kind of wonder if he knows something that we don't. Cam has a $13.5 million roster bonus due in mid-March. Yeah. So there's kind of he has a very low base salary. So there's basically pretty big decision for both him and the team coming up over the next month, whether or not he wants to play one more year.
Is it fair to say that we all think Loudermilk, who they traded up for in the draft, I don't even think he'll be back.
No.
I would be stunned unless it's a situation where he literally signs with no one else and they just need a body.
I just scale contract.
Yeah. Leal has flashed at times, but the injuries have been a problem. And certainly Adams, he's been okay, but again, he's kind of almost too much of a penetrator, and he's had some health problems. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if we double dipped in the draft on defensive line, depending on, of course, on what we do in free agency. But I think that
where the value is.
Yeah,
I won't be shocked if one of the first two picks is defensive lineman. I agree with you, and I echo what Ian was saying before about the age of the group. Dean Lowry is not going to be back. They're going to cut him. Logan Lee, they like. He'll be. I mean, and he's on a rookie contract, so they're gonna bring him back. Leal, that dude, no flipping clue. And Adams, as you mentioned, he's kind of a one-trick pony. He's a penetrating defensive lineman, but he's had some health issues and hasn't been super productive. And I think Lario goes to camp. I do, and I just think that they're gonna kind of measure his health and his effectiveness versus his salary, and then go, I don't know.
I think it would be great if
he does have a roster bonus.
He
does. No, I
think.
He does.
He does. What, $3 million? You said?
Yes.
Yeah.
If they could get him to delay that roster bonus until after camp, because they've done that with some guys before, where they're like, if you're on the 53-man roster, we'll pay you this bonus.
Right.
But I don't know if he'd be willing to take that either.
Just real quick off topic. I know Vinny's talking a little bit about the guys that got into the Hall of Fame tonight and the guys that didn't. We'll let's come back to that towards the end of the program. Talk a little bit, because I know there's some guys that maybe people thought should have gotten in and did not, and so on. But we'll do that then. I think this entire unit could be completely different. I predicted in my 5 predictions for the off season that I still wouldn't be surprised if Cam Hayward retired. I think I know coming off an all-pro season, that's hard to walk away from it, but at the same time, he has to see the writing on the wall in this franchise. He's not any closer to a Super Bowl now than he was last year at this time, and probably further. So I don't know, just a gut feeling I had.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have a better year than an all-pro year for an individual. So if he wants to go out on top, this is probably the time to do it. If he wants to make one more run, maybe, but we don't have a quarterback right now. If he wants to make a run at a Super Bowl,
oh, wow.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. If he wants to make a run at a Super Bowl, he's better off requesting a trade and going somewhere else, because this is not I'm on the record saying Cam Hayward is the greatest Steelers defensive lineman since Joe Green. He's an all-time Steeler, and I would love to see him be a Steeler for life. But if he wants to go after a Super Bowl, the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers is not the team to do it with.
Probably not.
Sorry, I'm just trying.
No, you're right, Ian. You're absolutely right. Stranger things have happened, but I don't see it happening with this organization in its current state. But we've got the whole off season. To talk about that. Just real quick, I saw Josh Allen named MVP. That is a bit of a surprise. I thought it was going to be Lamar. I think Lamar probably more deserving, to be real honest with you. But I also understand Allen had a pretty good year and probably had less talent around him. But oh well.
That also may have been one of those things, kind of like Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year. That
good point.
It was, well, this other guy's won it before, so we're going to give it to the guy who hasn't won.
Yep,
because he probably deserves it at some point.
Very good point. Go ahead and move on to our next position.
We'll go to outside linebackers. This one to me is pretty open and shut. Watt, Highsmith, Herbig will all be back. Watt and Highsmith are on long-term deals. Herbig's still on his rookie deal. Preston Smith's 100% getting cut because I think they saved like 13 million in cap space or something if they cut him.
Yep.
So yeah, it's this one's pretty simple. And then Jeremiah Moon did enough, I think, on special teams. They'll probably give him the exclusive rights tender, let him come to camp, see what happens. Maybe sign another camp body or two to let him compete on special teams. But outside linebackers is going to be largely the same group.
I'm curious to see what the Perales kid does. I thought he did a lot better than I anticipated he would. Coming out of, I think is he Fresno or San Jose State? Can't remember which. He's one of the two, but kind of a bigger. It reminds me of Woodley a little bit without the explosion and overall athleticism, but just the size and stuff. But we'll see. I still think they'll probably go find a veteran there to fill that gap that Smith probably leaves. And I mean, remember for years we always knew the Steelers were going to draft an outside linebacker. Didn't matter where, didn't matter when. They were always going to draft at least one.
Yeah, but that was back in the day when nobody else played the 34.
Very true, Ben. Yeah. That's a great point.
So you could get those tweener defensive end linebacker dudes, guys that played defensive end but actually were a little bit undersized, like in the third round, and they were perfect.
Yeah,
they were perfect.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Did. What? Gilden was a second. Peasy was a fifth.
Third.
Peasy was third.
Yeah.
Gilden was a second.
Yeah, Clark Hagens was a fifth. That's
yes.
Right.
Clark Hagens was a fifth.
Clark Hagens.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah. I got really nothing else to add on the OLBs.
That was back in the day when you could do that, and now
you're right, and I was not thinking of that.
You can't.
Teams have shifted to it, and they use so many of these hybrid defenses now that those guys just aren't as available. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay,
this
go ahead.
Interesting. So just to run through inside linebackers, Patrick Queen under contract, Peyton Wilson still on his rookie deal, Cole Holcomb still under contract after spending all of last year on IR. Landon Roberts is a free agent, and then Mark Robinson still under contract. Tyler Matakevich is a free agent. The interesting one here, I think, is what they do with Cole Holcomb, because they kept him around while he was recovering from injury, which I understand, but they brought him back to practice right at the end of the year,
so they could do an evaluation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But they potentially save. Let me look here. It's weird. You can see I'm on a different window, but you can see my mouse moving over that. He apparently has a $2 million roster bonus due, but it doesn't say when. But I mean, potentially they save $6 million if they cut him. So they probably need to make that decision right around when the new league year starts.
Yeah.
So that's Cole Holcomb's the interesting one here, is kind of what do they do there. I would like to see him bring a Landon Roberts back.
Agreed.
I thought for the role he played as that rundown linebacker, he was very good.
Yeah,
defensive leader.
Yes,
Queen and Wilson, rotating through. Queen being your every down guy, and then Wilson rotating in on passing downs, I think worked very well for this unit. So that's just me, but Holcomb's the big decision here.
Ian, how old is Dirty Red, Tyler Matakevich? Is he 10 years now?
I don't know if he's 10, but he's
got to be getting close to that, because I mean he spent 4 years with us, and then 4 years or so with Buffalo. I mean he's
spent 4 years in Pittsburgh, and
okay, so he might be
years in Buffalo.
He's 32.
Oh, wow.
Wow. 33.
How many years of experience does he have now?
9. So you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was close to that.
He's made a lot of money. I mean, for a guy who just
7th round pick,
does one thing. He's made a lot of money.
If you are smart with your money, you can make a nice living.
Hello, Melvin.
As a special teamer in the NFL,
yeah,
especially today. Yeah. Hey, Melvin.
Hi, Melvin.
By the way, I saw Melvin took his son to his first looked like his first NBA game recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Was that before Luka got traded?
Yeah, I think it was. I think I'd let him tell the story, but I think it was. Yeah. But yeah, well, anyway. Okay, so that's inside linebackers. Let's move on.
Yes, let's.
So I just real quickly.
Go ahead.
Segue. We're going to go off on a tangent here. Sure. Eli Manning didn't get in tonight to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Let's get to that after we cover the roster stuff.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of stuff to talk about that.
All right, we're almost done. 2 more. Cornerbacks, they need 3 guys here, honestly, because Joey Porter, Corey Trice, and Beanie Bishop are the only ones under contract, which to me is fine because Dante Jackson had that back issue. He was pretty good to start the season, but then really tailed off even when he was in late in the year, and then just looked
never
like
healthy.
He had no interest in contact.
It was obvious he was never healthy at the end of the season. I don't even know why he played in the wild card game. I'm like, dude, if you don't want to hit anybody, if your back hurts that bad, just stay out. Just don't even dress. Just tell him you can't do it. Jesus.
Yeah. Cam Sutton can go. James Pierre is, to me, fine as a number 5, gunner on special teams kind of guy. James Pierre on defense is like the Miles Boykin, Ben Skoranek of offense, right? That he's fine if he's just a special teams gunner, but if he has to play starter snaps, he's not going to be good.
Agreed.
Except that James Pierre was a 3rd round pick, and another example of the Steelers burning high round
James
picks.
Pierre was not
Pierre?
No, he's an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, we didn't draft Pierre.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
Cam Sutton was a 3rd round pick.
You must be thinking of another Frenchman.
I was using a bad example to punctuate the point that the Steelers have been very bad at drafting corners. You're right, though. James Pierre was undrafted.
And Ian did an article that Ian, you should probably recycle that about this time of year every year, about how signing cornerbacks in free agency is a much better deal than drafting them for numerous reasons.
At least for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Pretty much every team, though. And the point of the article that I wrote a few years ago was that most players who wind up being Pro Bowl and all pro corners were either like top 20 draft picks and are with their original team, or are players that are at least in the 5th year of being in the NFL. And it's just one of those positions that experience matters, and having experienced corners makes a huge difference. And we saw that a few years ago when we signed Joe Hayden, and then even Steven Nelson was decent as an experienced corner that we brought in. That having guys
that Steven Nelson played in Pittsburgh, he was fantastic.
Yeah,
his 2nd year he was pretty okay.
Yeah, but guys with a couple years of NFL experience are usually much better and more adept at playing corner than guys who are coming straight out of college.
Can we all hope and assume that Cam Sutton is gone?
Hopefully.
I would think so. I mean, it was a 1-year deal at the minimum.
Yep.
I'd be surprised if he came back. Even as a role player, he wasn't. I mean, that was another thing, with Beanie Bishop not playing late in the year.
Right.
Contingencies, getting away from your game plan because it's not working. The shit like that. No, let's leave Cam Sutton in because he's smart. He can't fucking cover anyone.
No.
And even in the limited snaps Bishop played over the second half of the year, Bishop had more tackles, more interceptions, and more passes defended than Cam Sutton did when Sutton was playing 85% of the snaps. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't beat straight facts.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
And Bishop's not great in coverage. There's no question.
No, he's got limitations.
He's better on the early downs, but the kid has a nose for the ball. He's around it all the time. You can't.
Yep.
No. It was like Mike Hilton, right? Like Mike Hilton got beat on a couple of deep go routes, but what he brought as a run-stopping, slot corner, and in those short area coverages, he was really good. And Bishop he's not the same as Mike Hilton, but he's built out of the same mold. And I think Vinny in the chat's right here. I think we're drafting a corner, and we might sign one or two. We need three more guys.
We're gonna have to,
right? Yeah. You can't go into the year with Joey Porter, Corey Trice, whose bones are made of glass, and Beanie Bishop as your top three corners. Like, you have to add at least three guys.
Corey Trice is going to be number one on the depth chart going into camp.
He might be number two.
Not corner number one, but he's going to be a starter. Is all I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. They already
he'll
decreed
be a starter.
That.
Yeah, on the right side.
Yep.
Well, no, I mean, not officially. They haven't, but he will be.
I thought somebody did.
And I think that, basically, I think that Dulac reported that they're leaning that direction.
Maybe that's what it was.
You're looking at the depth chart and you're going, well, who the fuck else is there?
Right.
James Pierre comes back. CJ Henderson, does he come back? I don't.
He was a practice squad player. I mean,
Yeah.
Who was injured and spent the year on IR. But I know Henderson was a former top 10 draft pick, but I mean, unless the Browns just completely shit themselves and trade Myles Garrett, and then Denzel Ward's like, I don't fucking want to play here anymore, and we can pull a Joe Hayden move and get Denzel Ward, which would be awesome. Like, yeah, I think you're right. Like, unless you go out and find somebody of that caliber, but that terrifies me because in this day and age, you need 5 or 6 corners that are capable of playing, especially with injuries and everything. And
you need at least 4.
Might have 2
minimum,
right? Like, I'm not convinced Corey Trice can play the whole year without getting hurt. And
no, agreed. You can't count on him.
I like what he brings when he's on the field. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying that
he's got all the attributes you love. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's been injured so much he hasn't got the experience either. They need to, and all three of these guys, I mean, Porter's played 2 years, Trice has technically been in the league 2 years, and Bishop's been in the league 1. They need a couple veterans in this room.
No argument.
Well, at least one, argument. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no argument here. Yeah.
All right, last one, safeties.
Bring back Patrick Peterson. Just kidding.
Oh gosh, no. But this one, once again, pretty straightforward that Minka and Deshaun Elliott are both under contract. If Ryan was here, he'd say we should trade Minka because he stinks, even though
stinker.
I was really looking forward to Casey this week referencing that Minka had more interceptions in the Pro Bowl than he did.
And damn well he already had it written.
He probably did. But nevertheless, Ryan Watts, they drafted last year, big lanky kid out of Texas, but got injured in training camp and spent the year on IR. Killebrew is fine as the special teams are. They
all pro again.
Yeah.
They probably do need another depth rotational guy here at safety, just to kind of be the third guy off the bench.
I think they need a third safety. They need not a depth rotational guy, but they need a legitimate third safety who can spot start in some games.
Well, Ben, what kind of guy do you like there? Do you like a guy that can move back and forth between a free and a strong? Do you like a guy that can
I like
kind
of an aggressive free safety is what I would prefer. Like a guy like KZ was when they signed him. I don't know that do you guys think KZ comes back?
Well, I think he's got a shot to come back. I think, and I was just going to ask you this, I think his issues with the hits and knowing that he was always one hit away from being suspended or fined, I think that affected his game a little bit.
This year, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they flat out told him, you just got to be careful.
Right.
I mean,
and when you tell a football player, especially a defensive player who's aggressive, hey man, you got to watch that aggressiveness, man, you are just taking a chunk of that guy's life away.
Yeah.
Because that's just what he's used to doing.
Well, that's his livelihood. And you're telling him that he's going to have to tone that back.
Right. Right. I mean, could you imagine telling Jack Lambert to tone it down?
It comes back to what Ryan Clark said toward the tail end, the tail end of his career. He's like, guys are going to start hitting players in the knees.
Yep. No, he called that. Yeah.
And taking them down that way rather than hitting them in the head or hitting them in the chest, because you might hit them in the head and you're going to get fined and you're going to get flagged. And so they're going to hit him low instead. And hitting a guy in the knees will end his career.
Right. Right. You're out for a year, maybe the career. You take a shot in the head, you get a concussion, and you're back in a week.
Or
but
two.
You're also a mess for life.
Yeah, the problem, the downside to the concussion thing, obviously, is repeated concussions cause long-term issues, quality of life issues.
Well, Tua's going to be an interesting case study.
It is, man.
Yeah, very interesting.
Safety's also not a super high priority for a lot of teams. Like a guy like Justin Simmons, who had been, an all-pro safety in the past, like took forever to sign last offseason. I know there were some injury questions and some salary questions, but he took a long time to sign.
He was out there a while. Yeah.
So you never know who might be out there and who you might be able to find. There's actually a lot of pending safeties that are going to be free agents next year. And KZ's going to be 33, I think, next year, 32.
God, is he that old already?
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
So you might be able to find somebody. There's plenty of there's going to be a lot of safeties available, is what I'm saying, between guys who are going to be free agents and then other guys who might just get cut at the position. There's going to be some guys available.
Nope, I agree with you, Ian. Are we doing any specialists?
No, I didn't do specialists. They're all under contract.
Right.
They're all under contract. So yeah, we're good there.
Okay, so we've kind of walked you through the offense and defensive roster the last couple weeks, and we are just a little over a month out now from the official start of the league year. And the Steelers have been fairly active on day one the last couple of years as compared to their normal operating procedure, which is to wait a couple days. So we'll see, but we'll get into potential free agents and all that kind of stuff as we go. Tonight was the NFL honors stuff, and I do want to make a comment real quick. I'm over Snoop Dogg. He came out in a Steelers uniform tonight, and beside the fact that the dude's got the skinniest legs I've ever seen, he's. Can you be a fan of a team but yet wear everybody else's jerseys and shit? That drives me insane. I cannot even fathom that.
Ask that girl on Twitter.
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, she plays it very well, doesn't she? And then pretends to be, I didn't know. Yeah. I'm sorry. I can't even imagine saying that I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but then I walk around in a Ray Lewis jersey. I mean, that's just that's insane. Yeah, Ben, you're muted. You're muted, Ben.
Or a Bengals jersey or a Browns jersey.
What? Right. Any other team's jersey. I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. Be that as it may. Yeah. I don't know. So Josh Allen wins in a bit of a surprise. I mean, I think mid-season, a lot of people thought he was going to be the MVP.
Yeah, but he didn't finish strong. I agree with Vinny. Lamar should have been the pick.
I thought he should have been too.
Lamar had a really good December. Really good.
Yeah.
And obviously played well in the wild card round.
Yep.
He's still is he 3-4 versus the Steelers as a starter, including the playoffs now?
Is it 3-4?
Yeah.
4? Yeah.
He started the year out
1-3.
At 1-4. 1-3? 1-3.
I think it was 1
and then
3.
he lost that one game, and he beat us. So they split the regular season, and then because why try and tackle Lamar in those option plays? Let's go at the running back.
Yeah, I definitely would have gone Lamar there. And I don't like
it's
it.
been a strange week. The NFL honors has been a little weird.
Yep.
I thought DPOY was wide open. Sertan is not a terrible pick.
I'm fine with it.
It's not a great one.
It wasn't a great defensive year.
Reflective. Yeah, it's reflective of the fact that the refs officiated the game trying to allow offenses to score more points.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I actually thought Zach Bond from the Eagles
too,
had a legitimate case. I mean, that dude was everywhere.
Well, especially considering he pretty much signed as a special teamer, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, but the other thing too, and I know it was mentioned in the chat, how do you have a guy be all pro, but then he doesn't win the MVP? It's like winning the Heisman, but you're on the second team All-American.
When it's like how the offensive player of the year was Saquon Barkley, but then the MVP wasn't the offensive player of the year, wasn't the defensive player of the year, and wasn't first team All-Pro. Like,
very weird.
It is.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
The whole thing is just weird. Like all of the voting today, the Hall of Fame class, NFL honors, all of it was just weird. And it's like they are going back and saying the MVP of the NFL was actually the most valuable player for his team. Well, yeah, okay. I get it. The Bills would suck without Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of players, a lot of players whose teams would be fucking terrible without them. What would the Chiefs be without Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
How many games did they win? 6?
Especially with Carson Wentz.
It's like how the Colts went 2-14 without Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. Yeah. By virtue of that standard, is Mahomes the MVP every fucking year? So I think you look at it as
reminds me of the Jordan argument.
The guy who did the most week over week within the league, not the guy who was the most valuable for his team. Which seems to be the way they voted here.
Of the guys that did not get in, I was very surprised by Adam Vinatieri. I
was surprised by Kuechly. I agree with Vinny.
Kuechly too.
Kuechly was absolutely first ballot.
I
thought that Eli was borderline. Maybe
he'll get in
for sure,
but I don't think he was a first ballot, and I'm okay with that.
But how does that reflect upon Ben's career? If Eli didn't get in with the 2 rings, Eli did not get in with 2 rings. Ben's got 2 rings. Does Ben not get in either?
I think.
Are they going to look at the fact in 2027? And I'm just putting this out there. They're going to look at the fact in 2027. You know what? Tom Brady is next year. Do we want to make Ben wait a couple of years and put Tom in first?
Yeah, but I think Ben never having a losing season. Eli had some dog shit regular season.
Awful years.
Right. Eli was either like get to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl or go 4-12. Like Eli had some really bad years.
Plus Ben's got the other Super Bowl. Granted, they didn't win. I think his stats overall are
so we won the AFC 3 times with Ben and and in those early years, Ben was basically carrying the offense. Well, that's not true. In 2005, we had a good run game.
Yeah.
2008, it was Ben. It was the Ben show.
Yeah.
And it's really it's a bit tragic how badly Ben played in Super Bowl 40, because in the run up to that game in the playoffs, he played so well.
Yep.
AFC Championship game, my God, that dude had a monster game in Denver.
Yeah, remember they had the TD called back too, the little Bettis sneak, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
They would have blown them way out.
The surprising thing to me this year was that they only picked 3 guys from the modern era, because Sterling Sharp was a whatever they call it, old timers, historical era, whatever.
Yeah. He was, and just for those that are listening and don't know, Sterling Sharp was on a Hall of Fame pace, and had a
100%. I think he's deserving.
Horrible neck injury that ended his career. And I want to say he played 6 seasons, very similarly to Terrell Davis, who played 6 seasons and got in. Granted, Sharp did not win a Super Bowl or anything like that, but this dude was good. Yeah. He was really
their whole
good.
Offense, and he played 8 years.
Yeah, did he play 8? Okay,
he played 8 years. But he had that neck injury that was going to be, if he took one more hit, it was going to be so debilitating he might not walk.
He could not play anymore. It was that simple.
Yep. So the surprising thing to me is them only taking 3 guys from
I can't type at all.
From the modern era. That you had these other guys, Kuechly being one. Like I completely agree. Antonio Gates definitely deserved to get in.
Yep.
Jared Allen definitely deserved to get in. I'm fine with those 2 guys. But as much as I hate
Eric Allen deserved to get in. The thing that's weird to me about this class,
I said Jared Allen. Eric Allen. Eric
Allen's questionable to me.
He was questionable.
Really?
He was good. Don't get me wrong.
I think
really
this
good
is like
player.
his 13th year of eligibility or something.
I mean, but
ridiculous.
If you remember, that Eagles defense was pretty damn good.
I mean,
that was Reggie White, Jerome
Brown. It was very good. But
Joyner,
Eric Allen was
Joyner.
Eric Allen was very good.
No, he was. I'm not.
He's just Eric Allen is a guy that you make wait because he's not like a guy that is like an immediate guy who gets into the Hall of Fame. Like I said, I think this is his 12th or 13th year of eligibility, so I'm okay with it. Whatever. What's weird about this class to me is there were some guys that didn't make it that I thought were deserving, and it's really small class. 4 guys.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
4 guys?
Like, you have I'm looking at the list of finalists right now. I mean, we've talked a lot about wide receivers, especially with Hines Ward's continued candidacy. He was not a finalist this year, but there's just so many guys that I'm surprised they didn't take one. Right? Antonio Gates definitely deserves to be in because of what he did for the tight end role. But Torrey Holt, Steve Smith, Reggie Wayne, all 3 of those guys should eventually be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Maybe they split votes between the 3 of them and none of them got enough votes to get in. But to me, you got such a backlog, and Larry Fitzgerald's going to be on the ballot next year. There's such a backlog of wide receivers. You got to get these guys in at some point. The folks in the chat talked about Adam Vinatieri being arguably the best kicker, or at least most clutch kicker. To me, he should be in. As much as I hate to admit it, Terrell Suggs should probably be a Hall of Famer at some point.
Nah, fuck that guy.
Terrell Suggs was a guy who hated us so much that I enjoyed hating him. Right? He was such a good adversary.
Terrell Suggs actually had mad respect for Ben.
Yeah, they had good respect for each other.
After every game, he would walk over to him and be like, "Dude, I don't know how the fuck you just did that." But
it's like Larry Bird and MJ when they were like, "Fuck you, you bitch!" Right?
Absolutely. Good reference.
Larry Bird said when he found when they announced that Magic Johnson had AIDS and he was retiring, Larry Bird said he cried.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how much you love the competition, love the rivalry, and obviously as a human being. But I don't know. There's the baseball goes through years like this too, though, where it might be just one guy getting in. There was a few years back. I don't think
bizarre to me. It's like, really, you guys are going to be that fickle this year? There were guys, Kuechly, 100% could have gotten in this year. Sorry. Vinatieri, he's a fucking kicker. Sorry, it's kicker bias.
He is. He's a kicker, but when you compare him to what Jan Stenerud and Morton Anderson,
I get it.
I mean, he's better than those 2.
So does Gary Anderson. He deserves to get in too. Probably never will.
Well,
Hines Ward. We just talked about Hines Ward a minute ago. he'll get in as a seniors committee guy, just like Sterling Sharp. In his
Right.
30th year of eligibility, Hines Ward will get in.
That's I hate to agree with you on that, but
it is so hard to get in as a wide receiver. People do not realize it.
Yeah.
It is so fucking hard. So if you're a wide receiver and you get in first ballot, it's a gigantic accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Moss, it's that kind of mountain.
Yeah. Gentlemen, the Super Bowl happens to be this weekend, and we really haven't done any picks in several weeks.
Hey, you know what Ben gets to do on Sunday? Fly to California on business. Yay!
During the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl Sunday. I have to fly to California. So I made sure I had a morning flight so I could watch the game.
There you go. Okay. Good man. Good man.
Yeah, I'm not stoked.
Who are you taking in this particular Super Bowl, Ben?
Who am I taking in this particular Super Bowl?
Yep.
I think the Chiefs are going to win despite their shitty run game because they're so good at defending the run.
Mm-hmm.
Because Spags is a fucking evil genius and has had 2 weeks to plan for the Eagles' run game.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of really fucking hope the Chiefs lose. I really, really, really hope the Chiefs lose.
So you're going with a Chiefs win, though?
No, I'm going with a Chiefs win. Realistically, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Chiefs 27, Eagles 20.
This game reminds me a little bit of the Niners-Ravens Super Bowl. I don't hate these teams quite.
Maybe
as
a power
much.
outage.
Maybe same place. It's in the same stadium. But I don't like either of them. The idea of either of them winning.
Fucking hate them both.
Yeah, and so therefore,
I hate the Eagles less.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I don't want to see that mother.
It's kind of like voting. You know, you're voting for the president. You're like, fucking hate you, and I hate you too.
I'm not a fan of Sirianni. I hate his little.
Which one do I hate less?
Big dumb.
This is really tough.
Yeah,
it's that. That's Ian, the Super Bowl.
Ian, what do you got in this one?
I agree that I would prefer the Eagles to win,
Vinny,
but I
post Vinny's comment. Post it.
Right,
leave it up.
For the folks just listening, Vinny says Hurts gets injured, Kenny Pickett comes in and throws the game-winning TD. Steelers fan base would explode. That's very good. Very good.
Pitt Twitter would explode. We know that.
I hope the Eagles
then right after
win.
Vinny's, you got Deb.
Yeah.
Just give me the
Deb,
Chiefs so Kenny.
Deb, I actually do love that comment. I do.
Yeah. All right.
I hope the Eagles win because I'm sick of the Chiefs winning, but my gut says that the Chiefs are probably gonna win. Weird fact for the Eagles: their kicker Jake Elliott hasn't missed from over 40 all year. I don't think.
The kiss of death.
But he's missed like 4 extra points in the playoffs alone.
Yeah.
In the playoffs alone, he's missed 4 extra points. But
what you're trying to say is he sucks?
I don't know, but he's pretty good on field goals.
Right.
Like he's been. So I don't know. It's just a weird situation where I wouldn't be shocked if this one winds up as like a weird ass score. But I think at the end of the day, for me, Mahomes is extremely clutch in key situations, whether it's third downs, whether it's fourth quarter, 2-minute drives, whatever it is. And Jalen Hurts just isn't, especially if you take away his first read. And Ben alluded to it that if Steve Spagnuolo is a really good. These might be the 2 best defensive coordinators in the league between Spagnuolo and Vic Fangio.
For sure, man.
They're top level.
Spot on there, sir.
And Hurts is not good when you take away his first read.
Mm-hmm.
The hard thing is, I mean, their running game's so good, and then if he can go play action, he gets plenty of time. But when his first read's not there, he panics, he scrambles, he throws the ball away, he takes bad sacks. And I just think, Spagnuolo is going to take away Hurts's first read. If Saquon beats him, maybe he gets, a couple touchdowns. But we've seen time and again in this league that you can give up a ton of rushing yards and lose, or you can get a ton of rushing yards and lose games, or you can give up a ton of rushing yards and still win games. And I just think the clutch factor that the Chiefs have, that Mahomes has, that Harrison Butker is a clutch kicker too, and Harrison butt kicker, haha. But nevertheless, so I'll go Chiefs 26-23. I think it'll be close, but I think the Chiefs are just better, especially in those big moments. And don't forget, the last time the Chiefs played the Eagles in the Super Bowl, they got a very convenient flag that put them into field goal range to kick the game-winning field goal.
I believe that was Juju, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Juju.
I thought he was the receiver that the call was on.
Maybe it was.
I thought it was.
Maybe it was.
Maybe not.
I wish that Scarpino was here so he could ask Ian.
It was James Bradbury was the cornerback for the Eagles, but it might have been.
God, I thought it was Juju doing a little dig route,
like a little wiggle, and
wiggle.
He grabbed the back of his jersey. Yeah.
Yep. I wish that Scarps was here so we could ask Ian why it takes him 10 minutes to make his prediction.
I mean, I don't.
Scarps, if you're watching the show later just to see what happened here, I just want you to know that you sound like a real bitch today by skipping the show. I'm just saying,
baby back bitch. Yeah, it was Juju. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Philip. Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I think Butker's more clutch. I think Mahomes is more clutch. I don't want to see Sirianni and Big Dumb win a ring. But
I don't want to see anybody. I'm rooting for the fucking meteor.
Unfortunately, Ben, we don't have a choice, though.
I am 100% rooting for the fucking meteor in this game. 100%. Wow. Eagles fans are fucking absolutely insufferable.
Yes, they are.
Eagles, Chiefs players and Taylor Swift are fucking insufferable. Yep. It's like, oh my God, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
I'm gonna watch anyway. It's Super Bowl, right? I'm gonna
of course.
The game.
Of
course.
Gotta watch commercials and
God damn. Oh fuck.
Lamar
like somebody I hate is gonna win this fucking game. Somebody I hate. Like I said, it's like a presidential election. Somebody I hate is gonna win. Sucks.
Before we leave, though, do you guys think that if Mahomes wins on Sunday that he overtakes Brady, even though Brady would have more rings?
No.
I mean, will he eventually get more rings than Brady? He might.
Well, I don't like to go into that, Ian, just simply because when Dan Marino got to the Super Bowl in year 2, we thought he was going to be back there every freaking year, and he never got back. So I'm not going to go there, but I just saw some conversation today on ESPN or something like that where they were talking about you'd have to put Mahomes into that category, and I don't think that's fair to put him there yet because
but they say things like that to stimulate conversation. Of
course,
right?
That's the Stephen A. Smith standard right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's Stephen A. Smith and fucking what's his name?
It's all of them. It's all of them. It's him. It's Coward. It's
Coward.
Mad Dog. It's all of them.
It's Skip Bayless.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, he's been quiet lately. I wonder why.
Because the Cowboys suck donkey balls.
Well,
there was also a couple lawsuits filed against Fox for things he may have done.
Speaking of, let's close out with this. We'll get back to some Steelers talk. Peyton Hendershot, tight end for the Chiefs. What is he, like the third or fourth tight end?
That was fantastic.
He was asked about essentially being in Kansas City, the culture, and he talked about the fact that his first team was the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And he said, here in Kansas City, it's all about football. It's all about
winning.
Right. Winning football. I don't have all these other obligations to go do autograph signings and take photos with everybody. He said that seems to be more what Dallas is about.
He said that Dallas was more about the fame and the trappings that came with the fame.
Yep.
And, the peripheral shit to the fame, where Kansas City was more about this is about football and winning. Football and winning.
And
this is your focus.
And I think we all said, we'd love to see the Steelers get back to that.
Remember when they did?
Yeah.
I mean, and there was a little bit of the peripheral shit.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing stories, and I said this in the chat today. I remember hearing stories about Hines Ward chewing out young wide receivers for not paying enough attention and taking notes in wide receiver meetings. And making a point to them that this isn't about you. This isn't about you. There are 52 other guys in this fucking team that you're letting down by not making a maximum effort every minute of every day. And if you're not going to do it, fucking doors over there.
Right. Well, I don't know what that means, but something's definitely got to change. But we got all off season to talk about that. Thanks everybody that has been in the chat tonight. Love you guys as always, and thanks to everybody that listens on your own or watches on your own.
Hey,
Either
Tom.
way. Hey Tom, thanks for jumping on, and we'll be back every week all off season. We've got all kinds of wonderful things planned. So enjoy the Super Bowl, enjoy the halftime, enjoy the commercials. Don't drink too much, even though I know most of you will. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck. Fuck those guys.